And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Sunday starts out with a lot of VFR over the interior once again, all the way up to the North Slope and into northeast Bristol Bay. A lot of IFR out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And a good area of IFR now coming into the Gulf of Alaska, in across Kodiak Island and the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. And for the afternoon, IFR slides on up into the eastern North Gulf Coast of the Wrangell Mountains and into possibly southern Prince William Sound along the Kenai Peninsula coast. Kodiak Island, IFR, and the Panhandle marginal. VFR holds over interior Alaska all the way up to the near the Arctic coast there. Lower conditions right off the coast. And IFR out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And going to Monday morning, we've got VFR holding here, St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound, into the interior areas, but now lower conditions making headway right up to the Alaska Range with some marginal VFR. IFR, Prince William Sound, into the southern Copper River Basin, but becoming marginal for Kodiak Island. And some IFR for the southeast coast, and a lot of IFR out over the Bering Sea, Nunivak Island, all the way down to the Aleutians, again with marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula. And looking ahead to Monday afternoon, marginal VFR holds over the Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, and into the Matanuska Valley, Kenai Peninsula. Susitna Valley in the northern Cook Inlet becoming VFR during the afternoon hours. Good VFR again in the interior, into the northern Bering Sea here, or actually into the Bering Strait, with no change up there on the Arctic coast or the North Slope. Marginal for the Panhandle, and pretty much solid IFR in the forecast for the Aleutians. Bering Sea right up to just south of St. Lawrence Island. Passes for tomorrow. Another VFR day for Anaktuvik and Adigan. Western Alaska Range, Lake Clark and Merrill seeing increasing clouds, but staying VFR. VFR for Rainy, Windy, Isabel, and Mintesta, all VFR again. Tanita possibly becoming marginal VFR as if the clouds get low enough in the afternoon. And for Portage, looks pretty marginal throughout the day on Sunday. And Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels about 10,000 feet over the east side of the state and about 6,000 to 8,000 feet here over the northern Bering Sea, and down to about 4,000 feet for the eastern Aleutians. And from there, moving on to the icing graphic. Areas of considerable moderate rime icing here in northeast Bristol Bay and other areas staying south of the eastern Aleutians, with isolated moderate rime icing possible here from the southwest coast to Kodiak Island up into southern Alaska, and icing free elsewhere. So the jet stream, pretty light wind still, interior Alaska, down across the southeast coast and into the Gulf. And southeast 65 knots here, right along the southwest coast, and stronger northerly winds out there to the west, up to 85 knots, approaching the central Aleutians. And for 9,000 feet, a couple of low centers out here over the Bering Sea to near Unalaska Island to the west of that. That's where the strongest winds are. 55 knots out of the north there across Adak and Atka. Otherwise southeast 40 knots along the southwest coast to St. Lawrence Island. East up to 40 knots there for Kodiak Island across the Gulf. And then along and off the coast there about 30 to 40 knots. And 3,000 feet, 35 knot winds, kind of a small wind max there right off the central coast of the Panhandle. Light in the Gulf of Alaska all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. And southeast 35 here near Nunivak Island. East 35 across Kodiak Island, the Aleutian Range. Northwest 35 knots for the central Aleutians. Turbulence could be some light to isolated moderate turbulence for Kodiak Island. Barren Islands area, Bristol Bay, maybe the Kuskokwim Bay area there, Cape Newenham to Iliamna Lake.